Hello, this is Gary from Pathways Homestead, and today we're at a very special place. This is my grandpa's farm. A lot of us, when we take a homesteading journey, when we begin to live that lifestyle, we have somebody that has inspired us, and my grandpa Cargill was definitely a man that inspired me. He's one of my heroes in my life, and we're at his farm today, and Grandpa's been gone for several years, and Grandma's moved out. She's living with my uncle, and so we're starting to sell things off here at her house, and they've sold their pasture and stuff. And I just wanted to kind of share this place with you guys because it's real special to me. And right now I'm standing on a patch of grass that used to be his garden. Grandpa always grew a nice garden, and he had pecan trees and sometimes peach trees and apple trees, but mostly pecan trees. And this garden produced lots of strawberries and tomatoes and okra. Some of you guys in the seed swap have even gotten some of his okra, some of Grandpa Cargill's okra. And he grew cowpeas and green beans and radishes and turnips. Every year turnips is a cover crop. He did organic gardening and crop rotation and cover crops before anybody even knew what that was. He was a Depression era raised gentleman and definitely learned a lot from that time. So we're going to show you guys around a little bit, and then I've got a poem I've written about him. I don't know if you guys can see that this is the back of their house. This was the door they used. This was the part of the house where they spent time on this patio and on this back porch, here in this backyard and in this garden. And this was where my grandparents lived.
So here we are down in Grandma's basement, and this is where Grandma and Grandpa stored a lot of stuff. They would put their potatoes down here, their onions down here. Grandpa would even bring down tomato plants he would dig up and put down here if they still had fruit on them, in order to grow tomatoes even through the cold. And that way he would have tomatoes up through Thanksgiving. And that was a big thing for him. He loved to have tomatoes earliest and latest. So there's still some jars, and most of those jars that are up there are not cannon jars. They're just jars that had stuff in them. And then there's a gallon jar there, some gallon jars, and some pretty jars. Grandma's canner is down here, her hot bath canner. It's right there. So they spend a lot of time down here storing food, filling these shelves with fresh canned vegetables and fruits.
I'm standing in my grandpa's barn. This barn, throughout its life, it's housed show cattle and sheep and hogs. It's housed a small rabbit operation. It's housed chickens. The loft above me, from the day it was built, was only for straw. They put all their straw up here, and when I ran cattle on this grass, I put all my straw up there, and it was just for straw, and it was a loft, and it's kind of a little hard to get the things in and out of, but it was a good dry place to keep straw, and straw has a pretty good resale value, but not a high feed value. So he kept all the straw up here. There is there's a wing beside me that was his chicken house for a long time, and we still call that the chicken house. This barn was built. They tore down an old fairgrounds near him, and he went and tore down some of the buildings and the grandstands and got all the wood off of it, and then he built this out of wood he tore down off of that. So he repurposed everything in this barn except for the tin. And if I know my grandpa, even some of the nails and screws and bolts were repurposed. He repurposed everything. He saved stuff. He collected, and we have spent the last several years slowly cleaning it all, getting it all gotten rid of, so that one day it will be all cleaned up. But that we've all found stuff we've used, and this barn is. I learned to stack hay in the top of this barn. I learned to fillet fish in front of this barn. This barn was a huge part of my childhood. When we'd come see Grandpa, there was always something going on at his barn or his garage, and he worked a lot. And there's also other barns on this place. Some of them were used for storage, some of them were used for hay storage, and he did a lot of buying and reselling. So some of them were just simply storage buildings. But this is a pretty neat old barn. This is my grandpa's garage. They parked their cars in here, but Grandpa also worked up in here a lot. There's a workbench over there. Right now, though, we've got things set up for a garage sale. But it was usually way fuller than this. He did a lot of scrapping, a lot of fixing, a lot of tinkering. Worked on cars in here at one time. There's even a beam he put in that had a hoist on it where he could pull motors. And if my grandpa couldn't fix it, it wasn't broken. And so this was his garage. I learned to mechanic in here. I learned to work on lawnmowers and things like that. I'm not great at it, but what I know, I learned a lot of it right here in this garage.
That's
That's
Kevin's.
Kenneth.
Or Kenneth.
Oh, so I've got one.
Say
That's
the
a nice
wrong-
spider right there on
There's a
it.
field critter on there.
I put a piece of tape on it so it could hold everything together. Didn't help much.
I got all that off you.
Oh no, don't put that
I
out.
won't, but I'm blackmailing you with it. No, I'm kidding. Whenever you're ready.
All right. We're selling Grandpa's farm today. We'll get in the truck and drive away from a place we learned so many things, like stacking hay and saving strings. We learned about hard work and patching fence, about saving dollars and making sense. We've all built our own lives in different places. Raised our kids with smiling faces. He's been gone a while now. In the pasture, that's the neighbor's cows. Grandma's now living with her kids. The sale will take care of her like his hard work always did. I look at old used tools in my rough hands. It reminds me of him like my brother's grin. We're selling Grandpa's farm today. It's okay to get in the truck and drive away.